Good afternoon, guys. Thank you for joining the live stream today. So, today I do have a few things that I want to discuss beforehand before we get started with the topic today. So I have been sort of thinking about doing live streams in both the group as well as on my main page and having sort of separate topics to talk about with both of them. So, I likely won't start doing that until after the holiday because I've already have next week's live stream planned out, and I want to sort of balance it out afterwards. So watch out for me doing a live stream on my actual page as well as on the group page. I'm trying to decide exactly how I'm going to do it, but I do want to get a little bit more traction onto from my actual Facebook page and to move it to the group to have sort of a bigger audience. So I wanted to share certain topics with a larger audience and then more contained topics, I guess you would say, in the group. So if you do follow me on my main page, I am going to start trying to do live streams through there as well as doing them here in the group. I'll stick with the group as far as on Wednesdays at 3 p.m. as I've normally been doing. And then from there, I'll decide what time as far as the live streams I do in my actual main page on Facebook. So I did want to mention that to you guys. And there is another thing that I want to mention again before we get started with today's topic. So the main thing I wanted to say is the previous challenges that I've done, the 14-day challenges that I've been doing, have not really been as successful as I expected. So I'm going to, in the next month, I'm going to do a larger offer to share with you guys to help, sort of show you guys everything that I can do for you. And I really want to push this out. I'm going to do it in December. I'm going to make a big offer that will be easily accessible to you guys to, join the program. If you're ready to really get going to change your life for the better and to be more active and to be healthier, I really want you to check out this upcoming offer I'll have in December. And part of the reason I'm doing this is not only just to sort of show people, what I can give them at a lower price, but also because of the new year coming that, we can get started and get going with these goals that you have in mind if you have resolutions or anything like that. And I want to be able to help you get there and assist you. And that's my main goal as a personal trainer, as an online fitness coach. That is my main goal, to get you to where you want to be and to be comfortable, be confident in who you are. So I really want to share this new offer that I have with you guys pretty soon. I'm not exactly going to tell what I'm going to offer, but I think it'll be beneficial and it'll help really get you into the program at a much more accessible way and an affordable way. So I'll talk about that in the coming month in December. So I really want to encourage you guys to sort of reach out to me, contact me if you have any questions about my program. I really want you guys to sort of let me know your feedback and to communicate with me on that. So that's sort of all I had to mention as far as before I get started. But I will be sharing more information on how I'm going to do, upcoming live streams and this new offer. I'll share more information as it gets closer towards the end of the year. But I'm really excited to add these things on to share with you guys. I really enjoy doing these live streams. I enjoy giving you the value and having stuff that you can take with you and that you can integrate into your life now. So with all that being said, let's go ahead and get started, and let's talk about plyometric training and some of its benefits. So as it relates to plyometric training, this is probably an exercise or workout type of training that you're probably not very familiar with, but you may have heard of it. Plyometric training is a more, I would say, a more quicker, more rapid top movement exercise. It is more focused on sort of coordination and speed. So there's different phases when it comes to plyometric training when you're doing a certain exercise in plyometric training. Some of these phases are, well, the three phases are eccentric, which is stored elastic energy stimulation of muscle spindles that sends signal to the spinal cord. And this is a stretch of the agonist muscle. And I'm going to explain sort of what these mean after I sort of go through these sort of definitions and explain to you exactly what these mean, because I know they're larger terms, but they are very important to know. The amortization phase is when the nerves are meeting the synapse in the spinal cord and a signal is sent to stretch the muscle. And this is the time between both the concentric and the eccentric phases. Concentric is the elastic energy release and the shortening of the agonist muscle. So basically what these phases are is sort of the phases that you would go through in a plyometric sort of exercise. So the eccentric phase is, for example, an easy way to understand this is if you're doing like just a normal jump. When you're doing a jump, you're going to bend down, you're going to squat down before you do that jump. I basically like to say as you're charging up. You're really charging up that energy to let go. So that is the eccentric motion that you're doing, is you're charging up that energy. The amortization phase is the transition. This is the phase where you're in between, that charging up and then the going down phase. So you have the eccentric where you're charging up. Amortization phase is the phase where you're going to be in the air, where you're going in between that charging phase and then that releasing phase. And when you land, that's going to be the concentric phase. So I hope you guys sort of understand that. This is a great way to sort of break down especially your form and what you need to do in plyometric training, because it is important to know these things, because plyometric training is way more fast-paced. It's more about coordination. It's about speed. But it's also about being aware sort of your phases that you're going through. So again, I want to sort of explain this again. The eccentric phase of plyometric training, for example, you have a jump. You're going to charge up that energy when you squat down. The amortization phase is when you're in the air from that jump, which is between that charging up phase, which is eccentric, and the releasing phase where you're landing on the ground, which is concentric. And so, like I mentioned, concentric is where that elastic energy is released, and that's the end of the phase, if that makes sense. Alrighty, so the importance of plyometric training. So plyometric training increases the rate of force production as well as the use of motor unit recruitment and improvement of it. Many movement patterns occur during functional activities that involve the stretch shortening cycle, which requires reaction from the neuromuscular system. Plyometric training improves these movement patterns. So plyometric training, again, is all about generating force and doing it as quickly as possible. And I do want to explain what some of these terms mean here. The stretch shortening cycle is very similar to what I just talked about with the phases of plyometric training. And basically what the stretch shortening cycle means is the loading of a muscle eccentrically to prepare for a rapid concentric contraction. So that's what the stretch shortening cycle means. It's just that reaction of that movement, that sort of the whole phase of that movement. And again, that's the core thing to keep in mind with plyometric training, is that you're going through these phases, and it's important to know what phase you're at when you're doing these. You, again, when it comes to the importance of it, when we're talking about plyometric training, many of these movements are important in functional activities, and these can help very much when it comes to, you know, daily living, because we're doing more. When we're doing motions in daily life, we're going to do those motions in, you know, a faster pace than when we're doing an exercise. In an exercise, we're likely going to do our motions in a slower and more, I guess you would say, more composed pace, or a more, we're doing them in a more controlled pace, and we're not, you know, doing them as if we would do something we normally do, like cleaning. You know, you don't really think too much about it, but when you're exercising, you're thinking particularly about form and things of that nature. So plyometric is very close to relating to daily life movements. So when you're designing plyometric training and when you're integrating it into your workout, you want to keep 3, or technically 4 things in mind when you're creating or implementing plyometric training into your workouts. So intensity, which basically describes the distance covered and the amount of effort or stress applied by the muscles. Volume is expressed as the number of foot contacts, throws, or catches. It is determined by the choice of exercise frequency and recovery. This is essentially determined by your fitness level, training history, injury history, and training goals. So again, this goes back to what I talked about before, is your goals. A lot of it is based on your goals, but it's also based on your current fitness level and what your capabilities are at this current moment. So if you're not, you know, if you have certain injuries in the past, or if you have a specific training history, that's going to determine sort of how you design these plyometric training, sort of implementing those plyometric trainings into exercises into your workouts. So it all is going to be based on your goals, where you're at now, and doing it in a progressive manner to where you're, like I went back to talking about progressive overload. So you want to gradually increase the intensity and challenge yourself when you're doing these exercises. And that applies to this. And it pretty much applies to any sort of training method, is sort of challenging yourself and having a progression rather than keeping it. When you keep it in a straight line, your muscles are not gonna be able to be sort of shocked. They're just, you know, you're already used to the movement, so you constantly sort of have to challenge yourself, and increase the intensity, increase the volume, increase the frequency that you're doing them. And keep in mind your recovery and having proper recovery so that your muscles can, you know, sort of rest, and you can recover from, you know, your muscles can be repaired from that injury. Your muscles can be sort of relaxed, and then you can be, as it relates to being at rest. Okay. So sort of I got a lot of words there. Okay, so as far as, you know, what I'm talking about resting, is you want to keep recovery important, because if you put too much stress on your muscles, that's going to lead to injury. So recovery is important. That's important to sort of give your muscles the time that they need to rest, and then it's going to help, because your muscles tear, and then when you're resting, it's going to rebuild those muscles, and then your muscles are going to tear again, and it's building on top of that. So that's how your muscles sort of grow. I know I kind of went off the rail there, but I hope you understand sort of what I'm saying, sort of what's important. It's all about progression in simple terms. So let me discuss some of the examples of plyometric exercises. And these are really simple exercises, really, that I can discuss. So, for example, a squat jump with stabilization. With this, you're going to bend down into a squat and then do a high jump and return to a squat and repeat the motion. That's pretty much self-explanatory. A multiplanar box jump up with stabilization, you're going to jump onto a box. So, for example, sometimes when you go to a gym, they'll have like these sort of boxes where you can do step ups and things like that. So you would use a box that it would be according to your height capabilities, and you would jump up and you would balance, and then you would alternate from side to side. So you're jumping on that box, you're stabilizing, you're jumping over. So this, you're doing it in multiple planes. That's what it means with multiplanar. So when you're doing that jump up, you're jumping up, you're stabilizing yourself, you're jumping to the side and stabilizing yourself, jumping up, stabilizing yourself, jumping over and stabilizing yourself, and jumping back on top of the box and stabilizing yourself. So that's basically what the multiplanar box jump up with stabilization is. Lunge jump is kind of self-explanatory. It's basically doing a lunge. You're jumping into the lunge position. So you jump and focus on lunging into one leg, then alternate to the other side. So you're just doing a normal lunge, but in a jumping motion. You're jumping into that lunge rather than just doing it, in a more stable fashion. And when it's with plyometric exercise, this is somewhat about, sort of challenging your movement patterns and challenging your stability as well. Let me sort of discuss some other exercises that you can do with plyometric training, because there's a bunch of others that I could talk about. We just talked about a squat jump, which is a good one, in the multiplanar box jump. You can also do there's so many different of these exercises, and these necessarily don't have to have any equipment. They're very body weight focused exercises that you can do, at home. That, for example, there's a tuck jump where you're basically doing a normal jump, but you're tucking your legs in, and then you're stabilizing yourself. You're jumping and tucking your legs in, you're stabilizing yourself. I know some of these are kind of hard to sort of understand without the visualization, but they're very simple. And again, in the future, I'm going to start doing, more live streams with more exercise. I try to do my videos to sort of explain step by step how an exercise is, but I do want to sort of communicate with you guys and talk to you guys. This is the steps that you go through with an exercise. And I know it's kind of hard just trying to explain it in words. But again, with these plyometric exercises, it's all about, sort of these rapid motions, stabilizing your body, being coordinated, and, going through these motions, in a more higher intensity or, more rapid motion. So again, I've talked about progression, and with plyometric exercises, again, it's all primarily body weight exercises, and it's really easy to sort of progress yourself with these. So, for example, a progression for a plyometric sort of exercise. So you would start with a squat jump up with stabilization. That would be sort of your easier exercise to start out with. And when you're ready to move up, you would go to a box jump up with stabilization. And then when you go further from that, when you're more comfortable and you're ready to challenge yourself, you go to a box jump down with stabilization. And then when you're, sort of wanting to challenge yourself the most and reach that progression, you would do a multiplanar jump with stabilization. So this is basically just a progression of a plyometric exercise, which you can do to sort of progress in that specific, sort of exercise. And there's different progressions that you can do with the different, you could do it not only with just this jump up, but you could do it with step ups. There's so many other things that you can do as far as progressing with plyometric exercises. And again, this is all body weight stuff. You don't need any equipment to do this. The only thing you would need is to have a stable sort of surface like a box, like it mentioned, but you want it to be stable where you can do step ups. But that's the only other, it's really particularly body weight exercises. So key variables of plyometric training. So volume, planes of motion, speed of motion, and safety, progressive, and recovery. So these are things to keep in mind. This sort of goes back to what I sort of discussed a few slides ago. Being aware of your volume, having a progression with your exercises, making recovery important. Safety, you want to do stuff that you're comfortable with to start out, but again, you want it to be progressive, so you're increasing the intensity. Being aware of your speed of motion in any plyometric workout, your planes of motion, which is basically goes back to the multiplanar thing. That's what multiplanar means, is you're moving in different planes of motion. So being aware of where you're at and what plane you're going through. Again, these are pretty much self-explanatory. You just want to sort of be aware of these key variables when you're sort of wanting to integrate plyometric training into your workouts. Okay, so understanding guidelines of plyometric training. So plyometric exercises themselves can be an important component to any workout regimen of an exercise, and it also helps with individuals who are seeking performance-based goals. However, it is important to use plyometric training in a systematic and progressive development, much like with any other workout routine. It contributes to safety and minimizes injury. So again, progression is important. It's important to start small, to start with what you're comfortable with, to again, that goes back to what I talked about with this progression. You're starting with that squat jump up with stabilization, and then you're progressing to more higher intensity sort of workouts with that, or exercises. So you want to keep in mind that safety is important, and when you're safe and when you're doing proper form, you're stabilizing your body when you need to. When you're doing these jump ups, you want to stabilize, because if you don't stabilize, that can increase your risk of falling or hurting yourself. So be aware of the step-by-step instructions when you're doing these workouts. With a lot of clients that I work out, or a lot of clients that I train, they have videos that are sent to them where they can understand the step-by-step sort of guidelines of that particular workout and what the form looks like. So you want to be aware of your form, the step-by-step sort of instructions of that workout. You want to go by that as almost pretty much to the T. I mean, we all can't perfectly do something, but you want to stay in those guidelines, and you want to stay in that particular motion, because when you're being aware of your form and your technique, that's important to prevent injury. Alrighty, so that's all I have for you guys today for plyometric training, and I'm really happy that you guys took the time to watch this. I do want to go back just a second just to see if I have any chats, because I normally don't look at it. Just want to see here. Okay, I don't. I thought I had some chats in there, but I wanted to answer those questions if there was any questions. But anyways, thank you guys for watching this. I'm really happy to be able to give you guys the value and to share with you guys some things that you can do. These things are easy to do. It's plyometric is body weight. You can do this now. I mean, it's easy to get started now. It's a great, easily accessible training that you can do right now to sort of get you into exercising and get you to change your lifestyle and move towards, where you want to be. It's a good beginner starting point. But again, you want to be safe, you want to be aware of your form, and you want to pay attention to, that step by step, what you need to do in that particular exercise. But again, it's all body weight, and it's really easy to start out with. And that's what I really want to share with you guys is more of what's easily accessible. Because I know that sometimes resistance training, and when you have dumbbells, barbells, and things like that, it's hard for a lot of people because sometimes we don't have a gym close by or we don't have that equipment so easily accessible. But this is easily accessible and it's easy to implement now. You can do it now. So I really wanted to share this with you guys and show you guys that there's so many different training methods. Now, this method may not be towards your goals because it is more, it almost is pretty close to cardio in a way, but it's also a great beginner starting place to get going with. So that's why I wanted to share this, because I really want to help you guys get started today to, get in motion and, get it going. Because just because you don't have equipment, you can easily get started. I have one of my clients, he doesn't have equipment, but he's sticking to his workouts. He's doing body weight workouts and he's sticking to that routine. So, there's so many ways that you can get started. It's just getting started. And from there, you can progress. When you're comfortable, you can, get a gym membership. You can, sort of progress from there. But, get started now. Find ways to integrate exercise today in your daily life because it's easily accessible. You just got to know, what to do and where to start. So thank you guys again for taking the time to watch this. If you have any questions, you can always send me an email or a text message, or you could call me. You can also send me a message through Messenger here on Facebook. I usually try to get to them. I do have a lot of them that I have to go through, but I do try to get to them as I can. But thank you guys again. And I'm looking forward to sharing some more live streams with you guys here in the coming week, as well as sort of expanding on this group, because this group has been growing over the past couple months, which I'm happy of. But I'm so glad that you guys took the time to watch this, and I look forward to sharing some more information with you guys in the coming week. So thank you guys for watching.